Check.
Morning.
Happy New Year.
We all set in the back. Sheila. Okay, we're good.
Calling to order the RTA Organizational Service and Performance Monitoring Committee at 9:02. Roll call, please.
Mayor Biassiata.
Here.
Ms. Welch.
Here.
Ms. McPherson. Ms. Pachetti.
Here.
And Mr. Sleesman.
Here.
You have 4 committee members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. 3 agenda items today. We have a non-competitive procurement state contract and another non-competitive procurement. Our first agenda item is going to be a presentation and the negotiated procurement for CNG operation and maintenance services for the Triscuit Bus Garage. And our first presenter will be Mr. Tom Allen. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Committee Chair Biassiata, committee members, and members of the board. My name is Tom Allen. I am the Energy Manager, and today I will be presenting on the procurement for the CNG operations and maintenance services at the Triscuit Bus Garage. So first, we have to understand that we do not procure compressed natural gas. We manufacture it. In doing so, our overall cost is derived from 3 different components. The first component is the natural gas commodity. The second component is the electricity needed to run the compressors. And the third component is the contract you're going to have before you, the operations and maintenance services agreement. So in 2023 for the Triscuit Garage, those 3 components combined for a total cost of $803,500. The cost per diesel gallon equivalent, which is the way that we take the natural gas unit of the commodity and convert it into the diesel fuel equivalent so we can compare the usage, was $1.19 before a tax credit. And there's an alternative fuel tax credit that exists that took that cost down to 60 cents per gallon. And to compare that to our diesel fuel cost of 2023, our average price per gallon was $2.92 that year. And even with our fuel hedging program, that brought the net cost down to $1.97. So CNG is still quite cost effective compared to the cost we paid for diesel fuel. So here we have a few pictures of our infrastructure at the Triscuit Garage. So the 2 pictures on top are the fuel pumps that we use to fuel the coaches. And the 2 pictures at the bottom are the compressors and the storage tanks that are outside the garage. Here we have 2 pictures of the software that they utilize to manage the system and kind of keep track of how things are going throughout the day. So then for this contract, the scope of services is 24/7 monitoring and support from the vendor. It provides the maintenance management system that has remote monitoring to ensure everything is up and running. And it includes all scheduled maintenance and emergency repairs. And any costs that are incurred through this contract are inclusive of all labor, parts, and consumables. So our current fleet size at Triscuit is 136 coaches. 63 of those are 40-foot CNG coaches, and that's the portion of the fleet that is fueled by these CNG pumps. The remaining portion of the fleet are 29 40-foot diesel coaches, 23 60-foot diesel coaches, 9 MCIs, which are park and ride coaches, and 12 trolleys. Right now, the fleet is going through a transition from diesel to CNG, and based on the most recent bus improvement plan, by the end of 2026, we expect to phase out the 23 60-foot diesel coaches, and by the end of 2028, we expect to phase out the 29 40-foot diesel coaches. So at that point in time, we'll only have some MCIs and some trolleys left using diesel fuel, and the rest of the fleet will have transitioned to CNG at the Triscuit Garage. So this is a critical contract because it ensures that the CNG fueling station is maintained and there's no interruption in service and it's available 24/7. If there was a disruption in the fueling, that would result in a catastrophic impact on our service and we wouldn't necessarily be able to meet demands of the given day for our customers. So the projected costs of this contract are based on a few factors. One of them is the anticipated mileage for the CNG coaches in the coming months and years. With those miles, we estimate the amount of fuel that it's going to consume, which for our natural gas commodity is in a MCF, which is 1,000 cubic feet. It's the volume of natural gas we bring in. We then take that unit of commodity and convert it to our diesel gallon equivalent, which has an industry standard calculation. And then that unit of usage is multiplied by the rate within the contract to get the estimated cost per month of this contract. So now at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Sean Becker for the procurement overview.
Thanks, Tom. Good morning, Mayor Biassiata, committee members, and members of the board. My name is Sean Becker. I'm a program contract manager in the procurement office and responsible for administering this contract. So this is a non-competitive purchase with Trillium Transportation Fuels, LLC, doing business as Trillium CNG. And per revised code section 306.43H, Trillium is the original installer and operations and maintenance provider for Triscuit CNG facility. And they also have a programmable logic control that is proprietary to Trillium when they installed it. So procurement requested a proposal on December 18th, 2024 That proposal was received on December 30th. There was a 0% DBE goal assigned to this project, and that proposal was reviewed by representatives from accounting, operations, and procurement. So some of Trillium's experience: they are a leader in CNG station construction and fuel distribution in North America. They have extensive work with transit agencies, and they operate and maintain over 200 CNG fueling stations in over 25 states. And they're heavily invested in their employees, investing over $40,000 in training per mechanic. So we know we have mechanics with the knowledge, skills, and ability that are working on our fuel. Some more of their experience: they have extensive and experienced O&M team across more than 80% of U.S., and they provide a turnkey operation and maintenance program that is customized to GCRTA's needs with 24/7 availability, and they've had no preventable service interruptions to date. They've worked with GCRTA, Akron Metro, Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, Miami-Dade Transit, New York City Transit, PACE, and Los Angeles Department of Transportation, among many others. And right here just shows a year-to-year rate that is contracted. So this first year, 1, 2, 3, is the current contract. So once the facility was constructed, there was 3 years included in that contract for the O&M. They have agreed to hold that year 3 price adjusted for CPI starting in year 1, and then years 2 and 3 will be adjusted for CPI as well. So the recommendation: staff requests that the Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee recommend an award to Trillium Transportation Fuels, LLC, doing business as Trillium CNG, to provide Triscuit CNG operations and maintenance services in an amount not to exceed $1,080,000 for the 3-year term. And at this point, we'll be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Any questions from the committee? The board? I thought it was pretty straightforward. The current, oh, sorry, I missed. Floor is yours.
I'm sorry. Could you just clarify what the previous contract was? And then I have one follow-up.
Do you know what the previous not-to-exceed amount was? I don't have the not-to-exceed amount, but basically we had a construction project to install it, and then the rates that were included for that first contract, years 1, 2, and 3, are right there. They are holding that price for year 3 and just adjusting those rates for the CPI adjustment.
Okay, and just as a follow-up, just given our reliance on what is clearly like, seems like a capable firm, I was just wondering the what-if question of like, what if something happened? I know you noted like if something did happen that interrupted CNG provision, there would be a catastrophic loss of service. So I'm just wondering though, if you could just take that, what if they weren't able to provide the service anymore?
Yeah. Good morning, Chairman, Ms. Pachetti, and members of the board. I'm Flaunt Caver, Chief Operating Officer. So with this contract and the CNG that is at Triscuit, we actually are in a better place than we were 10 years ago because we actually have the opportunity to fuel at Hayden, which has its own CNG farm. And so it would be catastrophic because it's not easy to take 50 buses from one place to another. But within the day, we would get the service back up because we would take those vehicles from the west side, fuel them on the east side, and put them back in service. More than likely, depending on when it occurred, if it was in the early morning if it was in the late evening that it occurred, we would route the buses that would normally pull into Hayden to Triscuit to pull into Hayden, be fueled, and drive over.
Got it. Thank you.
And to go on to that, we have had Hayden in place since 2015, and we've had a very solid track record with Trillium. So,
Mayor, floor is yours.
Thank you. Just going back to the pricing for a second, just to make sure I understand. If you could go back to that, that chart. When we say proposed rates to match current contract, does that mean year 1 is year 1 of the original contract?
so year 1 of the new contract will start with year 3 of the current. So in February,
Okay.
there'll be a formula to adjust that rate for CPI adjusted.
And then what happens, how's year 2 and 3 calculated?
CPI adjusted.
Oh, it's just,
Yep.
pure CPI
Yes.
from there. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation this morning. Just a question around the scope of the monitoring service. Does that also include, beyond, I presume, safety monitoring, equipment monitoring, but also environmental monitoring?
Yeah, so that would be included. So they have part of the infrastructure is they have systems in place to monitor the natural gas coming in, make sure it meets the quality we need, as well as ensure that there's no leaks, nothing escaping the system. So all of that is taken care of under the contract, and it's within the scope of what the vendor is doing. And they, the systems they have in place, because I had the opportunity to visit the site a few months ago, and it's quite extensive. There's a lot of machinery, computer, networking there to monitor and make sure that we're getting, the quality fuel we need, as well as ensure there's no issues with the system itself.
Thank you. And does Trillium currently manage the Hayden facility as well?
Yeah, Trillium currently has the contract for Hayden as well, so they're the vendor for both districts.
So I have the same question as Trustee Pachetti, and I'll continue it if Trillium also manages the Hayden facility. What if something happens, and I realize this is a long tail possibility, but I heard catastrophic. What if something happens and they're unable to provide services any longer to both facilities? Can we still get in there and actually fuel buses?
It would be catastrophic, and we wouldn't meet service demands. But we've had Hayden in place since 2015, and then we've had this one in place for 3 years, and there have been no preventable service interruptions to date. So we do have a solid track record. This contract also includes periodic upgrades to the equipment, so they're routinely keeping it up and refreshed, as well as the preventative maintenance that they do routinely.
Yeah, I think my concern is, again, something that's very improbable, but with the consequences being as high as they are, I would like something there when it comes to like, okay, what if something happens in Trillium just says, we can't service you this week because of something that happens internally. It seems as though that would be a disaster for us, and that even if it's a minuscule possibility, we should probably have something.
So if I can hop in for just a moment, I just want to make sure these are all great questions and don't want to thwart them by any means. We have to understand that sometimes it's a cost of doing business to make sure that we are putting as much resources as we can into a company such as Trillium that has really a great track record with us, but also within the industry. There's a lot of the redundancy really is the question that I'm hearing from this, and I think it's something that's not lost on our team. I don't want to speak for them. I'm definitely allow them to go ahead and add additional, but every system that we do have within RTA has a capability of going down. That is what happens when you have public transit for service. I am not aware that there is an additional redundancy built into this contract because that would include another vendor, but for this particular ask, everything has been evaluated to make sure that there are plan A, B, and C within the Trillium scope. From that point of view, we'd have to be able to look at a completely different system to make sure that we would have some additional kind of capability. And to be quite honest, I don't know that we have that capability in-house to be able to make sure that we could run that system without a completely different vendor. That would not be my recommendation to this board, to have two working in tandem. But I understand the question for sure. But I don't think that that's a probability with the system that we have, or with any system within public transit that operates with one vendor to take responsibility for the system we have. I will say this, and it might be a small caveat. Trillium, I want to say, was our vendor of the year, so to speak. I'm botching the name. But as far as the reliability, and Doc, you may want to give a little bit of information on that. To the folks at Hayden, they actually were recommended by our engineering team as well as our operational team because of their track record for redundancy and responsiveness in the times of power outage, mass weather issues that we went through in 2024 as well. And I want to say they have not had missed a day of service in their entire contract with RTA. And it doesn't cover for things that we can't foresee. But for the purposes of this contract, I would not let that stand in the way of it moving forward, because without them, we actually have nothing. Doc, if you want to add a little bit.
Thank you, Ms. Terry, and members of the board and community. Again, I'm Flaunt Caver, Chief Operating Officer. So it is my job to make sure that the catastrophic stuff doesn't happen. And so to provide just an understanding of how these facilities are made. And so yes, Trillium could leave and something could happen. But from the operational standpoint, each of those farms have their own generators to run them. So we have a backup should we lose electricity, that we can run those, and they run on diesel fuel, right? So even if the CNG was having some items, they run on diesel fuel. The other aspect, which is not through an MOU, but it is something that we've done. So when we first got the vehicles came before, the vehicles at Hayden in 2014, they came before we had the CNG farm built. And so we had enough CNG to run them, to test them, to do a lot of things. But at some point, we needed to refuel them, and we were able to refuel them at Akron Metro. While Shirley would not allow us to make a daily pullout, we would always keep some semblance and be able to create a relationship with them. Now, they are a Trillium customer, so if the company is gone, it's gone. But if there was some sort of disaster, we would assume that we would be tripping buses down to Akron and working with them as a sister system. But it's my job to figure out how that works, and we would not end up where there are 0 buses rolling through the city of Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was more in line with my question. I realize that this is highly unlikely, but if something does happen, I want to make sure we've at least thought about it. And at a certain point, if it's something that's so improbable that there's really nothing to do about it,
Yeah.
there's also just accepted risk. So I get that too.
Yeah. If I could add just for one moment, just to piggyback on the idea of going to Akron, in different agencies as well, through my experience personally, where systems have gone down, such as a Trillium, there has been that reliance on diesel when available. It is very costly, it is very time consuming, but it is possible. And so that is something, and usually if it were not in Akron, for example, in my experiences in other public transit agencies, you could have for example, it would be like a CPD or having a CMHA or all of these acronyms, right? There where you have a shared fueling facility where we would be able to have access through usually a fuel card. And we would, for example, have a supervisor be able to rotate those buses in and out to be fueled. But again, it is costly, it is time consuming, but there is always an out for us, but it would be a temporary fix until a Trillium, so to speak, would come back online. Yeah, so there's always an option. It would just take us a little longer to make pullout, so it is there.
Thanks.
Really quickly, I guess as a follow-up to that point, I was going to ask that very thing, but also I assume that there's also some kind of recourse that's built into the contract to the extent that, you know, Trillium, for whatever reason, cannot provide the service, something hits the fan, and it is catastrophic for us on the front end. But, I mean, there are avenues that we could take advantage of if we needed to address any issues to that extent.
So if you can hear me, so what I'll do in this regard is I would ask, and I don't want us to quote things that we are not sure of at this moment. If you can answer the question, great, from a procurement standpoint. I'm looking at Melinda, I'm looking at Sean. I'm also looking at Janet to make sure that this is questions about liquidated damages, what I'm assuming, and also kind of the recourse. If it is something you can provide, great. If not, we can provide that information at a later date.
There isn't any liquidated damages in a services contract. However, there is termination clauses. Obviously, that wouldn't get us the service we need immediately, but there's always termination for cause and termination for convenience. So whether they're not fulfilling their duties or it just benefits us to separate. So,
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful conversation. Any further? Hearing none, I move to approve this contract through committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Allen, Mr. Becker. We're going to move on now to our state contract, and we'll have a presentation of competitive procurement for 17 paratransit coaches from the State Ohio Cooperative Purchasing Program. Our first presenter on this contract will be Mr. Dan Kurg.
Good morning, Chair Biassiata, committee members and members of the board. My name is Dan Kerg, and I'm the manager of Fleet Engineering and QA. I will be presenting today with Glenville Manning from procurement on the purchase of 17 paratransit coaches. The GCRTA operates 80 paratransit vehicle demand response vehicles servicing Cuyahoga County. To provide reliable services, buses must be replaced on a regular cycle, and this will be a state of Ohio contract purchase. We'll be replacing vehicles that have been in service since 2013. We will also begin to increase the fleet size to 100 to support growing public need. The fleet size, again, currently at 80, will be 84 after this purchase. I will be maintaining the existing configuration determined by customer inputs and the GCRT fleet engineering and the paratransit operational and maintenance personnel, with one improvement, which we'll get to on the next slide. Excuse me. We maintain the configuration first by review by fleet engineering of the features that are available by the vendor that we're considering, and we look at the structural integrity of the structure, and then we do a vehicle inspection on a lift, which we did at paratransit with the paratransit team and the fleet engineering team. And then there was a plant site visit, which is in Ottawa, Ohio, and again looked at their processes to make sure their processes were sound. They had good quality on their mechanical structures, their wiring, and anything related to the vehicle. Finally, the purchase spec review, when fleet engineering will write all the details in a purchase spec, is reviewed by paratransit also. So here we have the one improvement, and so you see the difference. We have a previous fleet, which is our 7900s, is made by Diamond Coach, has 5 cameras on the vehicle. The new vehicle will be by American Coach, has 7 cameras. The 2 additional cameras, one is on the rear of the vehicle, on the outside rear. The other one is on the outside curb side, looking at the sidewalk, for example, for passengers that may be boarding. Here are just some of the existing features, and you'll see they're identical for each vehicle. The list, of course, is longer than that, but these are some of the primary systems that are on the vehicle. Okay.
Good morning, Chair Biassiata, committee members and members of the board. I am Glenville Manning from the Procurement Department, and I'm presenting the purchase of these paratransit vehicles. Section 306.43H4 of the Ohio Revised Code provides political subdivisions within the state of Ohio the opportunity to participate in contracts executed by the State of Ohio Department of Transportation. GCRTA will purchase 17 paratransit coaches from American Bus and Accessories Incorporated through the State of Ohio Department of Transportation Cooperative Purchasing Program under State Contract Number 248-24. The State of Ohio awarded this contract as a result of a competitive solicitation. The recommended vendor is American Bus and Accessories Incorporated, that is located in Cincinnati, Ohio. The anticipated delivery of these 17 paratransit coaches to begin around September of 2025. The current customers for American Bus include Medina County Transit, Marion Transit, Pickaway County Transit. Staff requests that the Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee recommend to the Board of Trustees the award of a contract to American Bus and Accessories Incorporated for 17 paratransit coaches at a unit price of $150,208, resulting in a total contract amount not to exceed $2,553,536. And we'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. My committee first. Well, I'm happy for this purchase, obviously. It's an area of our organization that's growing and a tremendous need for the paratransit based on all the feedback I've had. I've been on the board, so we're excited to get these new buses and these new features. Thank you for your work on this.
Thank you.
I'd like to pass this through my committee. Approve the contract for 17 new paratransit coaches. I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're now going to move on to our third committee item, a non-competitive procurement for Trapeze Software Group Incorporated for the PASS mobile application module. Presenters on this agenda item will be Nick Davidson and Scott Lawson. First presenter will be Mr. Davidson.
Good morning, Mayor Biassiata, committee, members of the board, Ms. Terry. I'm Nick Davidson. I'm the district director for paratransit. This morning, we're going to discuss our mobile application module. Currently, Trapeze is our vendor and provider for software that does both scheduling and dispatch for our paratransit system. And we're currently seeking to implement a mobile application for our customers. Currently, we have over 4,000 active customers, and in 2024, we took 670,000 passenger trips in 2024. So the mobile application that we want to launch for our customers will allow customers with an application from their mobile phone or tablet to schedule, cancel trips, similarly to the website, but this will also allow them to track the vehicle and see where the vehicle is at while it's en route to pick them up. This increases customers' confidence and the perception of safety. So no longer will they have to wonder, is my bus coming? Do I have to wait outside or by a window and watch for the vehicle coming, wondering if it is still on its way, still coming, not sure where it is, if it's behind or ahead, what's going on. So this gives they can wait inside the home or warmer environments while they wait on that vehicle. So it really improves the customer experience. Now, instead of when they're asking that question, they're calling into our dispatch or reservation center asking, where's my bus? And we field several hundred calls every day of calls to that nature. This will allow them to, instead of having to call and wait for somebody to answer the phone and provide that information, they'll have it visually right on their mobile device. So it'll also improve the customer experience in both our reservation and dispatch call centers. It will decrease the queue time and allow those individuals to handle other calls more efficiently. This is in keeping in line with our operational priorities, which we outlined in 2019, which is leveraging scheduling technology, improving our customer experience, and modernizing our communication technology. This is in line with all three of those priorities. And when we look at our quarterly surveys that we do, we get these 11 top concerns of our paratransit customers. This directly impacts three of those items. Safety, perception of safety while waiting. So again, customers have more confidence knowing that they don't have to go outside until a certain time because the bus isn't going to be here for a few more minutes and then also vehicles arriving on time. So just understanding when the vehicle is coming improves that performance. And it frees up the dispatchers to move trips as needed. So by alleviating that call center, they'll actually be able to dispatch more efficiently as well and improve on-time performance. And then 9 there on the upper left is easing the ease and convenience of scheduling a trip. So it'll improve that customer experience. Here are 2 graphics of what that image may look like. On the left, you'll see that is an individual trip, and it has all the details along with what the customer may be bringing, any mobility devices, any drop-off notes. And then you'll see at the top of that, you'll see the map. You can see where the trip is scheduled to and from. So if you look at it and you see that there may be a concern, you'll know right then. On the right-hand side, you'll see an image that also you can see where you can book the trip, look at future trips, look at past trips. So it'll provide a lot of more information to the customer right from their device, and they won't have to navigate to a website from their mobile phone or computer. This is in keeping in line with our strategic roadmap. There are actually 2 projects that are going to be going on in '25. One is already underway, and that is upgrading our Trapeze, our scheduling system. We're currently on version 17. We typically upgrade every 3 to 5 years. So we're going to be going from version 17 to version 21. There was no version 20, so we went we skipped 18 and 19, and we're going to 21, which is a normal process for us. And then simultaneously, the paratransit application implementation will run in parallel for a period. When the upgrade is complete in late summer, we'll finish the mobile app implementation, and we'll complete that by late 2025. To cover the procurement, I'll turn it over to Scott Lawson.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor Biassiato, members of the board. My name is Scott Lawson. I am the contract administrator too for this procurement. The non-competitive purchase with Trapeze Software Group Incorporated is revised code 306.4H. Trapeze is a developer and the original provider of the authority's past software. This software is proprietary. The procurement requested a proposal on August 16th of 2024. A proposal was received on October 4th of 2024. A goal of 0% DBE was assigned for this project, and the proposal was reviewed by representatives from paratransit, information technology, and procurement. The firm's experience, they are pioneers in providing intelligent transportation systems, serving over 30 years, over 40 offices worldwide, and supporting 135 plus large transit agencies across North America. Trapeze clients include the GCRTA, Central Ohio Transit Authority, Capital Area Transit Authority, Southwest Ohio Regional Transit Authority, Dallas Area Rapid Transit, or DART, Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, Maryland Transit Authority, Nashville Metropolitan Transit Authority, and Pace Suburban Bus, among many others. The precursor is the upgrade to version 21, which is a requirement in order for us to have the past software included in the maintenance agreement. They will run parallel with each other, and the proposed app costs are below. Licensing fees are $73,972. Implementation services are $96,950 for a total cost of $170,922. The recommendation, the staff requests that the Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee recommend to the Board of Trustees the award for Trapeze Pass mobile application module and service to Trapeze Software Group Incorporated, and the negotiated contract amount not to exceed $170,922.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No doubt that this, the scheduling of paratransit has probably been number one that I've heard back from our clients in the last 3 years. And this is from my own experience with scheduling things. Nothing perhaps brings a better peace of mind than the subsequent feeling of safety when you feel like you're in control, and knowing when paratransit can arrive, I would suspect would bring a lot of peace of mind to our customers. But couple things. How the navigation of this mobile app, how much different is than the one in place today? So is there going to be a learning curve amongst our riders? Is what I'm going to get to.
So we currently don't have one.
Okay.
It will look and feel similar to our web scheduling, probably be easier. Speaking with Trapeze, as they've integrated a number of authorities around the nation, they find that users tend to just adopt technology and are able to It's very intuitive. They can figure it out themselves.
Would the notifications be a push or a pull? And when I say push, if I'm a paratransit rider, will the notifications of the potential arrival time come to me without action on my end? I'm really thinking about, the riders, many whom have handicap. What I'm getting to is the ADA. Is this app ADA compliant and friendly? Because what we're trying to accomplish here is a great thing, but if our ridership can't easily navigate and get the information we want to get them, I'm just thinking ahead.
No, great question. I appreciate that. The answer is yes, in short. There are push notifications, and for our ADA community, so the FTA in August of '24 set a mandate that all websites for a large agency should be WCAG 2.1 compatible, which means it's ADA compliant for visual and auditory disabilities, that they should be compliant by April of 2026. Our website that we launched back in October is WCAG 2.1 compliant, and this application will be as well.
Thank you so much.
Sir.
I'm going to open it up to my rest of my committee. Mr. Sleesman.
I had two quick questions. I assume this is the case, but just to confirm, they can still call and get updates, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then second, what's the time period of this?
So this application,
Is it until it expires, the version or something like that?
I'm sorry?
Is it just until the version of the application expires, or is it?
No, future versions. So when we upgrade from 21 to version, say 24 or 25, the mobile app will still be part of our package.
Okay.
It may
So this is all
update.
in however long?
It'll be moving forward.
Okay. Thanks.
Anyone else? Ms. Elder.
Hi there. I'm really excited about this app because I love technology. Just maybe a follow-up to Trustee Sleesman with the, or maybe, hold on. Oh, with the ability to still call in if there's an issue, is that something that you can do directly through the app, or is that something that has to be done outside? For example, I saw on the screenshot that you provided that there's like a feedback button, or maybe there's a separate tab that says I have a concern, or I need to call in for a mess or for any reason, or maybe you can message. Is that capability within the app?
I don't know if the call center number is hyperlinked in it. That's a level of detail we won't get to until we get to the design. But if that's available, I'll make sure that it is. But I don't have that information. I can't give you a confirmed answer on that right now, ma'am.
Okay, no, that's fine. And then the same for the alerts that will come in. So I know that we confirmed that they'll come in as push. Does that also include, for example, you're looking at the map and you see that your ride is on the way, but maybe, I don't know, there's a car accident, say, and now there's a delay. Is there the kind of alert system built in that maybe the driver or the call center or whoever will maybe send something through the app to say, hey, we are on the way, but we've encountered something and there's a 5-minute, 10-minute delay, something to that effect?
So the application, when it's tracking the vehicle, it's based off real-time data from the automated vehicle locator on the bus, the GPS on the bus. And so it should give, as the vehicle slows or stops, it should give update real time the estimated time of arrival.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Very good. Anyone else? I would concur with Ms. Elder on having a button to make a phone call real easy if it's needed and if it's possible. If you can follow up on that, that'd be great.
I think it does, but I'll confirm.
Thank you. I move to approve the contract with Trapeze Software Group. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nay? The ayes have it. Motion's passed. Have a great day. Thank you for your help. I'm going to adjourn Organizational Service and Performance Monitoring Committee at 9:42. I move to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. The ayes, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
We'll now begin the Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee meeting. Roll call, Teresa.
Ms. Welch,
Here.
Mr. Love,
Here?
and Mr. Sleesman.
Yep.
We have 3 committee members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Happy New Year and good morning to everyone. Welcome back. It's good to see everyone's faces. We have 9 items on the agenda today. The first presentation that we're going to have is an IFB procurement, which is a competitive procurement to repair West 65th Street Station stairways and platforms. We'll have presenters Norbert Reynolds, who's a resident engineer, and Jen Martin, who's a contract administrator for procurement. You now have the floor.
Good morning, committee chair, members of the board, and the audience. My name is Norbert Reynolds, and I'm a resident engineer. And this morning, I'll be presenting on the West 65th stairway and platform repairs. So on the screen are 2 photographs. On the left, we have the entrance to the West 65th, the west entrance to that stairway. And just to give you a background, almost 2 years ago, we had an issue, a safety issue. A couple of potholes developed towards the entrance of that stairway. And as you can see, the cones indicate that, you know, we put those up as a safety precaution. However, another hole developed. And so we had a project to repair the hole. The picture to the right is indicating on the stairway at track level. Now, like I said, we had the holes developed. Then subsequent to that, the stairway began to fail. And that picture on the right shows just a couple of the threads at the bottom of the stairway. So it's really impossible for passengers to access that stairway safely. So we eventually closed the access, that west access to the platform. In addition to that, on the bottom of the stairway, you can see some electrical conduits and raceway. Due to salt intrusion, those conduits have deteriorated, and that has compromised the communication functionality of the electronic features that are on top of the stairway. So hence we have this project. So let's talk about the scope of the work. Now, just to say, West 65th Station is a very tight location because you have trains that are going by every 15 minutes. So to make this project happen, we have decided to construct a temporary enclosure so that construction can be performed within the enclosure while we still have trains running. So the first thing we're going to do is to construct this temporary enclosure. After that, we're going to be setting up a falls work under the upper platform, which is really a temporary support to support the concrete platform while we are doing work on it. And then it's going to be removed at the end of the project. Next, we're going to remove the threads that you see are failing. We're not going to be removing the stringers for the stairway because it's in fairly good condition. We're also going to remove the electrical conduits that are deteriorated under the platform. And we're going to be blasting the existing stringers so that they can be painted. Also, instead of replacing the threads with the standard steel threads, we're going to be using fibrated reinforced polymer stairway threads. And we have these at West 25th Station and also at the East 79 Station. So these are resistant to salt corrosion. Also, we are going to be replacing the electrical and communication conduits that you see in the previous photographs. Now, this project, because of the tight, area and the restriction for construction, we're going to require 3, perhaps 4 weekend shutdown. The first one is to install the temporary enclosure we talked about, and then to remove them at the end. And also, we need time to do the sandblasting and painting of the stair trail we talked about. And as such, the project has been given 270 days from notice to proceed to completion. I'll turn it over to Jen.
Good morning and Happy New Year to everybody. My name is Jen Martin. I am the contract administrator for this project. The invitation for bid was issued on October 4th of 2024. It was accessed on the GCRTA website by 17 interested parties, including subcontractors. 2 firms had submitted a bid, and one bid was deemed responsive. The lowest responsive and responsible vendor was Great Lakes Construction Company of Hinckley, Ohio. A 10% DBE goal was assigned to this project by the Office of Business Development and will be achieved by utilizing the following subcontractors: Denise's Flagging and Construction Services, Inc., Key Cable and Supply, Rockport Ready Mix, and All Contractors Supply, LLC. Great Lakes Construction Company has successfully completed projects for the Authority, ODOT, City of Rocky River, City of Dayton, Akron-Canton Regional Airport, and the Cleveland Port Authority, among many others. The Great Lakes Construction Company has current projects with RTA, ODOT, City of Cleveland, Lake County, City of Strongsville, City of Canton, and Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, among others. Staff requests that the Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee recommend award to the Great Lakes Construction Company for the West 65th Stairway and platform repairs. The contract is an amount not to exceed $644,172.50. We will be happy to entertain any questions the board may have.
Thank you for that presentation. Any questions from the committee? Committee of the whole? Okay. Do I have a motion to move forward?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. Thank you so much for that presentation. We now have an IFB procurement, a presentation of a competitive procurement to provide and install a new modular traction power substation at East 120th Street. For this presentation, we have Robert Piggery, Engineering Project Manager in Electrical, and Jonathan Lawley, Project Contract Manager in Procurement. You now have the floor. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Welch and committee members and members of the board. My name is Robert Piggery, and I am the Engineering Project Manager for the Electrical Department here at RTA. And this presentation is for a new traction power substation at East 120th Street. So what we're going to do is we're going to install a prefabricated 2 megawatt traction power substation, and this will replace the existing station located at Euclid and Coltman, and that was constructed in the 1960s. So the new substation, we wanted to synergize with the surrounding community. It's going to be approximately 14 feet in height with approximately 1,200 square foot area. That's the footprint. We are also going to construct a new driveway, a new access drive, and the new traction power substation. One of the goals of this project is we want to improve voltage stability on the eastern end of the red line. And of course, in doing that, that's going to improve our rider efficiency for the Little Italy community. And so now we have a few renderings of what our project is going to look like. So this is a rendering of view from Coltman. As you turn off Coltman and into the area, you will see you could see the new access driveway that we're going to construct under this project. And now we have some views from some renderings from the residents in the area. Again, we wanted to synergize and blend in with the community. You can see that we have a landscaping plan where we're going to plant some trees and some shrubs so it looks nice and fits with the community. Here's another view from the residents there on Coltman. And we have one more rendering from the southwest side of the tracks where you can see the building, the substation, and the transformer that will sit outside of the building. Okay, now we will turn it over to our procurement department.
Good morning, Chairperson, committee members, members of the board. Jonathan Lawley, Program Contract Manager for this project. The invitation for bid was issued on September 9, 2024. 11 parties, including subcontractors, viewed the solicitation. 2 firms submitted a bid. The lowest responsive and responsible vendor for this project is RGT Services, LLC, doing business as the Fowler Company. They will be utilizing Cook Paving and Construction and Denise's Flagging to achieve the 15% DB participation goal assigned to this project. The Fowler Company successfully completed projects for the RTA, Medina City Schools, Cuyahoga County Engineer, among many others. For this project, the staff is requesting this committee award to RGT Services LLC, the Fowler Company, this project in a contract amount not to exceed $7,194,208. We'll be happy to take questions if there are any.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee or committee of the whole?
Thank you for the presentation. I think this is more of a overall comment, just hoping to see in the future some thinking around a site plan for the existing substation site. And, you know, beyond the demolition, would there be opportunities as a high-profile site on Coltman and Euclid Avenue to be thinking about the use of that site in the future? But that's more of a comment than a question.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions, comments? Do you have a motion to move forward?
It's a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This carries. Thank you so much for that presentation. We will now have an RFP procurement of a competitive negotiated procurement for on-call surveying services to augment the authority's internal engineering staff for a 24-month period. We have presenters, Don Tariba, resident engineer, and John Lawley, program contract manager in procurement. You now have the floor. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson Welsh, committee members, and members of the board. My name is Don Tariba. I'm a resident engineer here at RTA. I will be presenting for the on-call surveying services Phase 7, along with Jonathan Lawley, program contract administrator. This project will be used to perform project surveying services to augment our in-house RTA personnel. Work will be done by task order assignment, where a scope of work is developed when a need arises, a cost proposal is received, cost is negotiated, and then a notice to proceed is issued once the cost is negotiated. The total task orders will not exceed $250,000 for a contract term of 36 months from the first task order notice to proceed. This is Phase 7. We've had 6 previous on-call surveying services contracts. A lot of the times we're used when assignments where the rapid turnaround and survey information is required. Work to support the property management group here, where easements and boundary needs are required, where complex boundary research is needed, helps expedite in-house design projects, and also for checking project construction as-built information and needs as needed. As for the procurement overview, I'll turn it over to Jonathan Lawley.
All right, good morning again. Jonathan Lawley, Program Contract Manager. The request for proposal was issued on October 7, 2024. 7 interested parties reviewed the solicitation. 4 firms submitted a proposal. This project was done in accordance with the Brooks Act. The evaluation panel members for this project came from the Engineering and Project Development Department, Operations, Procurement, as well as the Office of Business Development. The evaluation criteria for this project are project manager, assigned staff, past performance, project approach, location majority work, as well as DB participation. The most technically qualified vendor for this project is KS Associates Incorporated. They'll be using 2LMN and Denise's flagging and construction services to achieve the 3% DB goal assigned to this project. KS Associates, Inc. has completed projects for the RTA, the Department of Transportation, the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, Cuyahoga County, and other organizations. In the past, KS Associates has provided quality deliverables with qualified staff on similar projects here at the RTA. The staff is requesting this committee recommend award to KS Associates, Inc. for this project. The contract is not to exceed $250,000 for a period of 36 months. We'll be happy to take questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee or committee of the whole? Do I have a motion to move forward?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you so much. Next up, we'll have another RFP procurement, a presentation of a competitive negotiated procurement to replace 36 shelters along GCRTA's light rail stations. We'll have presenters Mandy Metcalf, Senior Planner in Programming and Planning, and Sean Becker, Program Contract Manager of Procurement. You now have the floor.
Good morning, Chair Welch, committee members and members of the board. My name is Mandy Metcalf. I'm a Senior Planner with the Programming and Planning Department, and I will be presenting on the light rail shelter replacement project. The light rail shelter project is intended to increase ridership by improving comfort, convenience, and service image through not only new shelters, but also lighting, informational signage, seating, bicycle parking, and landscaping. As part of this project, 3 contracts will be awarded. Part A is for the shelters, Part B is for construction, including installation and concrete, and Part C is for the digital real-time arrival signs. So I will be speaking about Part A and Part C, and then Norbert Reynolds will talk about Part B. This is a map of the distribution of amenities across the light rail stations, which were prioritized based on the number of boardings at each station. So the westbound stations, as well as the transfer points, are getting a greater level of amenities. So you can see the little clock icon is the real-time information signs. The blue dots are where the shelters are going to be replaced, where there's existing shelters now. And then we also have bench icons where there's no shelters now, we'll be putting in benches, as well as bike racks. This project is funded by CMAQ funds originally through NOACA, flexed FTA with a local match. The process included external stakeholder committee meetings where we got input from residents and business owners and municipalities, representatives on the shelter design and what amenities they would like to see. And the project has been through environmental review and also went to the Shaker Architectural Board to get the shelter design concepts reviewed. And we anticipate construction to begin in summer 2025 once the shelters and the signs begin to be delivered, and then the project will continue through spring 2026. So we will have 36 replacement shelters. 28 of these shelters will be along the blue and green light rail lines, and 8 shelters will be at the connecting bus routes connecting into the light rail lines. And that number of 28 shelters also includes busway and platform shelters for the Vanik and Warrensville station, which will be reconstructed. And GCRTA will install the shelters ourselves in-house. So this is an image of the conceptual design for the shelters. The input from the community was that it was important for them to be weather protective. We have this extended roof on these shelters. We're also going to be using standard size panels that can be interchanged with our existing shelters. The westbound shelters will have solar lighting and real-time arrival signage. In some cases, we have some shady locations. So in this case, we're going to put the solar on a separate stanchion and then run conduit to the shelter where we'll have the real-time signs and the solar lighting. And as I said, the Van Eyck and Warrensville shelter installation will be coordinated with the reconstruction of the station. And these are some images of the shelters at the platform and at the busway. And I'll turn it over to procurement.
Thanks, Mandy. Good morning, Chairperson Welch, committee members, and members of the board. My name is Sean Becker, Program Contract Manager in Procurement, and responsible for administering this RFP and resulting contract. So the RFP was issued on September 15th, 2024. It was accessed on the GCRTA website by 12 interested parties. Those proposals were due on October 30th, and we received 2 proposals. So the evaluation panel members consisted of representatives from programming and planning, engineering and project development, central facilities maintenance, safety, grants management, and procurement. And those proposals were graded on the following criteria: the responsiveness to technical specifications, the proposed schedule, cost effectiveness, and the qualifications of the project team proposed. The recommended firm is Tuller Manufacturing Company, Inc. They were founded in 1991 and are headquartered in Corona, California. They are a leading North American design and fabricator, and they have award-winning best-in-class transit shelters with solar solutions and street furniture, as well as digital information displays. They have over 500 designs available, as well as hundreds of customized solutions. They place a strong emphasis on design, specifications, and utilizing high-quality materials. And they have extensive transit experience, which includes federally funded projects, as well as Buy America requirements. Some of their clients include Blacksburg Transit, Capital Area Rural Transportation System, Capital Area Transportation Authority, Capital Metro, Central Florida Regional Transportation Authority, Champaign-Urbana Mass Transit District, Chapel Hill Transit, Dallas Area Rapid Transit, Hillsborough Area Regional Transit, Jacksonville Transit Authority, and Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, and WeGo Public Transit, among many others. And the recommendation, staff requests that the Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee recommend to the Board of Trustees the award for light rail shelter replacement to Tuller Manufacturing Company, Inc., in a total negotiated contract amount not to exceed $826,750. And at this point, we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I just want to say I appreciate the concerted effort to not only take community feedback about shelters in place, as that's an instrumental part of the rider experience, right? How we're waiting, but also the implementation of weather protective and extended shelter that's above individuals to protect them from the heat, the climate. I know that's something that some feedback that we consistently get internally and externally, online, offline. So I just wanted to just sing your praises and thank you for that concerted effort. Are there any questions from the committee or committee of the whole? Yes.
Hi there, thank you for your presentation. I think that I heard you mention that there will be the solar panels on the westbound side, right, that will provide the real-time updates. Are those real-time updates only for westbound, or is it for both?
Yeah, we've got them at the westbound stations and key eastbound stations at the transfer points. And that will be the next contract that we'll discuss. But we also have an option to do some push-to-talk buttons at additional numbers of stations, which are a little less expensive, but are able to be implemented even if we don't have the signage, the digital signage there.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk about that.
Okay, I will hold my questions to the next one. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, an exciting project. Just, I guess, a couple questions. One is the 36 shelters, is that sort of, it's additive, it's not just a one-for-one. There's now going to be new shelters where there currently are none. That's not accurate, okay.
No, it's just replacement of existing shelters. Yes, we will be placing some benches where there's not shelters currently.
Not shelters, okay. And then how does this project in all of its phases, and I know we haven't talked about the other phases yet, but how does this project intersect with the platform modifications, other work that's going to be done around the rail car replacement?
Yeah, so the shelters and all the amenities are intended to be removable and reused once we do the platform project, which I don't know if Mike wants to say a little more about that.
Yeah, I mean, we are taking that into account with this project. Certainly the shelters, the fact that our own forces are doing the installation, so they have the equipment and ability to move them if necessary when we do the other platform modification project, which will be 2 or 3 years from now. So that's been taken into account. And it'll also be an issue when we do the 8 Blue Line stations that we're going to be doing design work on this year as part of the ASAP grant we won. So we've spent a lot of time trying to make sure that we're not spending a lot of money and then destroying it 2 years from now.
Yeah, that was my...
And I did want to Trustee Elder, some of the difference between the east and west is some of our stations, 90-some% of the people are going in where it's an origin station, where on the eastbound it's a destination. So they're not really waiting because they get off the train and they walk to their car or they walk home. So a number of our routes that have these high mode splits, you know, they're riding in the morning and they have to wait. But when they come home in the afternoon, they leave immediately. So you see that on Clifton. That's a good example where we have 14 shelters on the 16 on the inbound and 3 on the outbound because people are getting off and they're not waiting. So our team takes that into account when they look at which amenities go at which platform. So that's, you know, I just wanted to address that while I'm talking.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any additional questions?
Not so much a question, but a comment. Just as we're moving forward, so I mentioned this in our dry run, super excited about this project. I share that enthusiasm with the board. Just to keep in mind as well, digital signage, I know is included in the packet, but also digital advertising for future. You mentioned the standard paneling. When you're talking with the vendor to make sure that for the next phases as well, that we also keep an eye on marketing to make sure that we have the capability, especially if they're going to be reused, especially along rail lines, to make sure that we have that opportunity to have that paneling be able to accommodate a digital advertising. It could be a stream of revenue for the future that we may want to look into as we start to get and gain more ridership on all of our modes going forward. So it could be a great opportunity for that.
And that's actually in the next presentation. Yeah, okay. Thank you for that. Any additional comments, questions? I move to approve this, or move to approve this. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This passes. Thank you so much. We will now move on to the presentation of a competitive negotiated procurement to provide electronic signage along the various GCRTA light rail stations. And we will also have Ms. Metcalf and Mr. Becker who will continue the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is the replacement of the light rail shelters, Part C digital signage project. So this will include 42 e-paper digital passenger information signs, which will transmit GTFS real-time light rail arrival estimates, as well as route information and alerts, also includes a 5-year service package and warranty. A beneficial characteristic of the e-paper signage is it takes a very small amount of power, so it can be solar powered. So that's one reason we chose this type of signage. So as we mentioned, it will be located at the westbound light rail stations, key eastbound stations, as well as connecting bus stops. And you can see in the picture what the signs look like. So this will include 13-inch signs, 7 of which will be connected to existing power where we have that, and 23 will be solar powered. Of those, so I mentioned that there are some shady locations in which we will have a stanchion pole to bring the solar panel out from under the shade, and a solar platform with conduit connected to a sign inside the shelter. We're also going to be including 5 spare signs. And then we'll also have 7 of these larger 32-inch grid-powered signs for the platform and waiting area at Van Aken Warrensville Station. And they'll be housed in a display case such as you see there in the picture. And then we do also have an option for 43 Falcon push-to-talk buttons. So the Falcons will read or vocalize the sign information when they're pushed, and they can also be standalone without the sign.
Good morning. RFP was issued on September 22nd, 2024. It was accessed on the GCRTA website by 15 interested parties. Proposals were due on November 1st, and we received 2 proposals. The evaluation panel consisted of members from programming and planning, engineering and project development, central facilities maintenance, safety, information technology, and procurement. Those proposals were graded on the following criteria: the responsiveness to technical specifications, the cost effectiveness, qualifications of the project team, and the proposed schedule. The recommended firm is ConnectPoint, Inc. They were founded in 2014 and are headquartered in Goleta, California. They are a leading digital signage and content management software provider to U.S. Transit. And they're also the original equipment manufacturer for their solution, so we can go directly to them. And they have an emphasis on safety and security. Their solution has a local VPN for their data, and it's weather resistant, as well as they have encapsulated in a case with glass panels. So it both protects the sign itself as well as deters vandalism. They have a custom implementation plan customized to GCRTA's needs. They have innovation and recognition with multiple awards across, and they have options for flexibility and scalability. And they also have a local customer service responsiveness for positive responsive. Their firm's experience include clients with GCRTA, Central Ohio Transit Authority, Butler County Regional Transit Authority, PACE, King County Metro, TriMet Portland Streetcar, Link Transit, Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada, Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority, among many others. And the recommendation, staff requests that the Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee recommend to the Board of Trustees the award for electronic signage for light rail shelter replacement to ConnectPoint, Inc. in a total negotiated base contract amount not to exceed $380,055, with an option for up to 43 push-to-talk buttons in an amount not to exceed $97,610, for a total contract amount not to exceed $477,665 for a 5-year period. And at this point, we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I saw that we've worked with them in the past. Do we have this particular product already out at our stations? And what has been the perception of them?
Yes, we've had a pilot project with ConnectPoint. So we do have experience with them, and we are happy with their responsiveness and their product. So right now we have 3 real-time arrival signs downtown and then over in the University Circle area.
And is the what has been the shelf life of the pilot program, and is there any like updates that are included in this proposal, the money that we give to this?
Yeah, so I think the pilot project has been in place for 4 or 5 years now, and there have been some things that we have learned and the vendors also learned over that time period. So they have done some upgrades, and they have a new Vandal Guard product, which we're including in this contract, that will just be an added source of protection to protect the signs. And if it's a replaceable glass panel, so if someone smashes it, it can be pulled out and just the front panel can be put in, rather than replacing the whole sign. So that's one example of how they're sort of innovating and continuing to upgrade.
That's great. Thank you. That's what I wanted to, that I was curious about. Any questions, comments?
Are they backlit?
They do have enough visibility to be seen at nighttime. So I'm not sure exactly what that mechanism is, but they are lit up a little bit at night.
Okay.
And they actually have time periods that they can be set to kind of increase that brightness. So when it starts to get dark, and it can be adjusted as well as for seasonality.
Yeah, the one at East Roadway gets hard to see if it's not brightly lit right at that corner, so.
Any additional questions, comments? I move to approve this. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This carries. Thank you so much. We will also move along to a presentation of the competitive procurement for modifications of the shelters along the authority's light rail system. For this, we will have presenters Norbert Reynolds, resident engineer, and Jonathan Lawley, program contract manager for procurement. You now have the floor.
Good morning again. I'm Norbert Reynolds, resident engineer, and I'll be presenting on the other amenities. This phase has to do with the construction part of the light rail shelter project. So this will be providing, three aspects of the construction. First, we're talking about the installation of concrete pads for the placement of amenities. Amenities include benches, which we'll be placing at some key station. These are benches that are going to be adjacent to the existing shelters. It's just a nice feature to have for, passengers that are waiting, just in case there are like an overflow inside the shelter. Also, other amenities include, bike racks and trash receptacles. Also, the contractor will be installing the solar light panels and the solar stanchions that Mandy talked about. These will be provided by others, including the phase for the shelter provision and also for the signage. The contractor will be installing these items. And also the contractor will be furnishing items including the bike racks and trash cans. So I'll just turn it over to procurement.
All right, good morning again, Jonathan Lawley, Program Contract Manager. This invitation for bid was issued on September 22nd, 2024. 15 interested parties, including subcontractors, have reviewed the solicitation. 4 firms submitted a bid to complete this work. The lowest responsive and responsible vendor for this work was Northeast Ohio Trenching Services Incorporated. There's a 15% DB participation goal assigned to this project. Northeast Ohio Trenching Service Incorporated completed a good faith effort process as was reviewed and approved by the Office of Business Development. Northeast Ohio Trenching Service Incorporated has successfully completed projects for the City of Brooklyn, the City of Aurora, Tri-C, and the RTA, among other organizations. The staff is requesting the committee recommend award to Northeast Ohio Trenching Service Incorporated for this project in a contract amount not to exceed $293,000. We'll be happy to take questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Just for understanding, I know these are different vendors for each of these projects, but is there a particular reason why we don't include it all under like one budget item and we separate them out? Just curious. Even though they're different.
This is Mike Shipper. I think I'll address that one.
Okay.
In this case, yeah, we could have done this as one big project, but because the shelter part of the project is the majority cost, we would have ended up having markups for subcontracting from the sign and panels and from the concrete construction. So those would all be subbed out. It seems a little cumbersome to have 3 contracts, but the result has actually been pretty good. The budget for this overall program is $2 million. The 3 projects total about $1.6 million. Yes, our staff is going to have to expend a little bit more effort in coordinating, but they're up to it. But I think in this case, breaking it was the right thing to do. We actually have another small project to do some landscaping that probably won't come to the board because it's going to be under 100,000. So that was some of the thought process, where we didn't want to have to rely on a shelter manufacturer to obtain sub-consultants that they would have to manage. So that was their thought. This time I think it's worked well for us, and we'll see how we implement it.
As long as the process works for you all. Any additional questions? Thank you for that, Mike. I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This now carries. Thank you so much. We will now have a proposed change order, a presentation of the proposed change order to the track bridges and platform rehabilitation over West 117th Street contract and reinstatement of the GM CEO signing authority. We'll have presenters Kurt Dimick, Engineering Project Manager for Bridges, and Jonathan Lawley, Project Contract Manager for Procurement. You now have the floor.
All right, I'm going to, good morning again, Jonathan Lawley, Program Contract Manager. This presentation is for the rehabilitation of track platform bridges over West 117th, a change order, as well as resetting of the general manager's signing authority. The current contract amount to date is $8,801,262.86. This includes 19 previously authorized change orders. The notice to proceed for this project was issued on July 12th, 2023. The final completion is set for November 10th, 2025. The change orders approved under the current signing authority are in the amount of $455,601.93. The change order authority limit is $500,000. I'll now pass it to Kirk so he can give a technical overview of this change order.
Very good. Thank you, Jonathan. Good morning, Chair Welch, members of the committee, members of the board. My name is Kirk Dimick. I'm the Engineering Project Manager for Bridges here at RTA. And we'll get into some of the detail on this particular change order. It's assigned to the abatement of the lead-based paint found underneath the bridge decks that were taken off in the process of the contract. This was an unforeseen case, a very unusual case. I have not seen top flange painted beams before. I'll show you a few pictures here in a minute. But these were just isolated to the track bridges, eastbound and westbound, not on the platform in the center. We found this once it was removed. It's a hazardous material, this lead-based paint. So it required removing this hazard before any additional work could continue. Typically, when we get involved with this material, it's just the painter. He's dealing with it. In this case, it slowed work for a time until we could get rid of this hazard. We took care of it in utilizing 2 construction change directives authorized to complete this work. So here's some pictures that illustrate the complexity of this particular change of condition. The picture on the left is typical of an understructure paint operation, with the exception of the air ducts and supply going up and through the deck to the upper portion. Typically when you paint, you do it at the end of the project. You hang tarps from the beams down to the road below. It's a fairly simple assembly and operation. And once that painting's done at the very end of the job, the project is very near completion. However, this occurred right in the middle of our work while we were removing the decks. That center slide shows you that red hue on tops of those 4 track bridge beam tops, which in order to contain that area, to put a negative pressure in that area, so we literally suck the hazardous material and collect it, we had to build a tent structure over top of it, shown on the right-hand side. This is very atypical, not usual at all. NS is right next to us, right there to the further right. This occurred both in phase 1 for the eastbound bridge and also the westbound bridge. So I'll give it back to Jonathan to explain the justification.
All right, currently there are $44,398.07 remaining on the general manager's change order authority. The negotiated amount of the construction change directives is $355,215.68. Of this amount, $238,912.45 has already been authorized to the existing change order authority. The remaining amount of $116,303.23 requires board authorization. These CCDs have been reviewed by internal audit as well as the change order committee and has been recommended by the change order committee as well. We are also looking to reset the GM change order authority to $500,000 to continue to move forward on this project. The staff is requesting this committee recommend approval of the proposed change order to Suburban Maintenance and Construction Incorporated in a negotiated amount not to exceed $116,303.23, resulting in a new total contract amount not to exceed $8,917,566.09. This change order again will also reinstate the signing authority for the general manager to $500,000. Any questions?
Thank you for that. Do we have any questions, comments?
Only the comment that I bet this was a pain in the neck for all of you, and so good job taking care of it, and absolutely no problem moving this forward.
Thank you.
All right, then do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This now carries. Thank you so much. We are going to go back one because I have skipped over an RFP procurement. So we're going to go back one to a presentation for the competitive negotiated procurement for on-call signal engineering services. And we are going to have presenters Andrew Corman, Engineering Project Manager for Electrical, and Jen Martin joining us again for Contract Administration 2 for procurement. Thank you so much for your patience.
All right. Good morning, Chairperson Welch, committee members, and members of the board. My name is Andrew Corman, and I am an engineering project manager. I will be presenting on the On-Call Signal Engineering Services 2024 project. On-Call Signal Engineering Services provide signal engineering design and technical support for projects exceeding the capacity or expertise of GC RTA personnel. Work is by task order assignment. Total task orders not to exceed $450,000 over a 24-month period. Work may include highway, rail, grade crossing warning systems, wayside and computer-assisted braking systems, roadway traffic control systems, vital processor and CTDS interaction, regulatory compliance, training and specification development. Some potential tasks may include replacement of the GL1 processor, replacement of Tower City track circuits, signal and communication issues as they arise.
Thank you, Andrew, and good morning again. My name is Jen Martin, Contract Administrator for this project. The request for a proposal was issued on October 4th of 2024, and it was accessed on the GCRTA website by 19 interested parties, including subcontractors. 2 firms submitted a proposal, and 2 firms were interviewed. The evaluation panel members included members of GCRTA from the Engineering and Project Development Department, Grants and Management and Treasury, Power and Way, Signals Department, Office of Management and Budget, Office of Business Development, Safety Department, and Procurement. Following the Brooks Act for this RFP, the evaluation criteria included the evaluation of the project manager, assigned staff, past performance, project approach, location of the majority of the work, and DBE participation. The most technically qualified vendor that the panel had recognized was Mott McDonald LLC of Cleveland, Ohio. A 4% DBE goal was assigned to this project and will be met by utilizing Pacific Railway Enterprises, Inc. and Geotrans. Mott McDonald LLC has successfully completed projects for the GCRTA, ODOT, the Ohio Turnpike and Infrastructure Commission, Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, among many others. Mott McDonald LLC's personnel are experienced and familiar with the GCRTA system as a consultant and in providing quality deliverables. Staff requests that the Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee recommend award to Mott McDonald LLC for consulting services for the On-Call Signal Engineering Services contract of 2024. This contract is not to exceed $450,000 for a period of 24 months. We will be happy to entertain any questions the board may have.
Thank you for that presentation. Questions? Comments? I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This carries. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for your patience. The last item that we have on the agenda is a proposed change order, presentation of that proposed change order to the Tower City East Portal Rehabilitation Contract and reinstatement of the GM CEO signing authority. We will have presenters Kirk Dimmick, Engineering Project Manager for Bridges, join us again, and Jonathan Lawley, Program Contract Manager for Procurement, join us again as well. Thank you. You now have the floor.
All right, this change order is for the rehabilitation of Tower City, the East Portal. The current contract amount is $16,210,463.72, including 8 previously authorized change orders. The notice to proceed for this project was issued on February 20th, 2024, with completion set for June 10th of 2026. The change orders approved under the current signing authority are an amount of $482,910.92. Again, the change order authority for this is $500,000. Kirk will now give the technical aspects.
Good morning again. Kirk Dimmick, Engineering Project Manager for Bridges. Although this is more of a tunnel system this morning. Board Chair, members of the board. This morning, I'm going to give you a brief update on where this project is. Unless you ride in on the red line or light rail from the east, you won't see much going on. But I do encourage you to ride it because you can see some construction activity coming in. So on the left is where we have removed these portal entrances. There's 4 of them to remove. That's primary work is on the east end of the portal system. It's an 800-foot long tunnel system, if you recall. The view on the left there shows the temporary shoring that we had to install prior to removing the wall because we have to hold up Ontario Street above the portal. This is a modular system that was designed that it will frame out and be moved to each of the portal entrance locations for efficiency of contract. The center slide shows where we've removed the wall and we've formed up for the new wall, and we're placing new concrete with a pumper truck in the top part of that slide. If you have not seen how they move concrete other than coming out of a cement mixer, they throw it into one of these special contraptions and it pumps it through a 6-inch line and they can put it right where they want it. This was done without interruption of service during the project. To the left, or I'm sorry, to the right, they've removed that formwork and you can see the new wall. This is track 6 that's right up against the wall that supports Ontario Street. There's a little bit more patching work that has to be done right where the feeder cables come in up against the wall. But this is what it'll look like on the new wall at each of the entrances. These have been exposed to the weather over the 100 years that no work's been done on this site, so they suffered the worst case decay. So these were pretty ugly looking. And I'll move to an internal slide where we did some patching. Left slide shows how we form a vertical surface with a patch. And in order to place the concrete in the top, we create what's called a bird's mouth. They can pour the concrete in there and it'll form up smooth and mimic the same profile of the wall. Prior to that, in the center slide shows where we've removed the concrete and exposed some of the rebar, so when we form up over that and pour that concrete in, we can get a nice new concrete structural surface. And then I've also included a slide to the right where we're doing some track work in there to manage some of the train revenue service through there. So let's talk specifically about the change order. The project did have drainage improvements included. However, with this drainage addition, this was an unforeseen case where these existing storm lids at track level, we're doing drainage improvements at street level above the portal from Ontario Street, making sure we reinstate their drainage ability so it's not leaking down through the portal. And then also we're doing work at track level. So this is at track level. These storm lids, they couldn't be exposed ahead of time during design to figure out exactly their condition. When we did remove the track and the ballast, I'll show you a picture in a minute. It's about 2 feet below the track level. We found that these lids were frozen shut to a point where we tried to take them off and they broke. So once we determined that most of these other lids are going to be in that same condition, the reuse was not feasible. So we had to look at doing something different in the form of a change order. We're also raising, I should say, the lids above ballast, so the access can be improved for future maintenance. So these cast iron rings, we did this also at the S-curve to where future maintenance we can get to it, and it still allows sub-drainage where these risers have slits in them, and that water that's down in the ballast can enter into the drainage system as well. So here are my pictures. So again, starting at the left, this is right before we removed the track and the ballast. Give you a sense, this is track 7 we're looking at here. The center slide shows once we've removed that track and ballast, we get down to a firm surface. It's hard to see where the basin is, but where the 2 hoses are running from the bottom of that slide into a square cutout, that's what they had to do to get into that structure, is physically cut the top off or open it enough to drain some of the water out of it, because these are plugged in the system. So there's a broader picture of it to the right, where we're replacing all of these lids and adding these risers in the change order. So I'll give it back to Jonathan, and he'll talk numbers.
All right, to date, there's $17,089.08 remaining on the current signing authority. This proposed change order number 8 is in a negotiated amount not to exceed $98,544.40 and has been reviewed and recommended by the change order committee. Again, this will change order is also to reset the general manager's signing authority to $500,000 to allow the project to continue forward. So the staff is requesting the committee approve the proposed change order to Great Lakes Construction Company in a negotiated amount not to exceed $98,544.40, resulting in a new not to exceed contract value of $16,309,008.12. This change order will also reinstate the signing authority to $500,000. Any questions?
Thank you for that. Any questions, comments? I move to approve this. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This carries. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
I move to adjourn the Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee meeting at 10:42. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is now adjourned.
I'd like to call to order the RTA Audit Safety Compliance and Real Estate Committee. Roll call, please.
Mayor Kumar.
Here.
Ms. Welch.
Yes.
Ms. Elder.
Here.
Ms. Pachetti.
Here.
Mr. Sleesman.
Here.
And Mayor Weiss.
Here.
You have 6 committee members present. You have a quorum.
So much. We have one item, sale of property, and we have Jim Rusnoff, Senior Real Estate Estate Manager, presenting today. Take it away, Jim.
Thank you, and good morning, Mayor Kumar, members of the committee, and members of the board. I'm Jim Rusnoff, Real Estate Manager. Also, sorry, I'm fighting a cold today, so I may have to pause periodically. I'm pleased to present the request for authorization to sell a 1.35 acre portion of RTA property immediately west of the West Boulevard Cadell Rail Station to Flaherty and Collins Development, LLC. This transaction will advance a new residential TOD project now known as the Depot on Detroit. You may recall that in October of 2022, this board authorized the execution of an option agreement with the developer to advance their efforts to secure tax credit financing from the state of Ohio and capital from other financing sources, and to perform due diligence on this parcel. I'm pleased to report on the developers recently completed their financing effort, securing funding not only from the state of Ohio, but several additional sources. Flaherty and Collins is now prepared to proceed with the next phase of the development process to advance to a construction start. Execution of the property sale agreement concludes the option phase of the development process with a construction start anticipated during the third quarter of 2025. The developer has initiated the land entitlement and permitting process with the City of Cleveland. To date, the project has received enthusiastic support from the city, the state, the county, local community development organizations, and other agencies. The development of a new affordable, high-density residential community adjacent to our rail station remains a high-priority TOD goal and objective. The development process utilized to advance this project complies with all RTA real estate policies. To reorient you to the project site, the purchase area is highlighted in blue on the location map. You see our rail station and parking area immediately to the east. And unfortunately, the development site is not contiguous to the rail station property. As you can see, the Norfolk Southern rail line that separates the properties running diagonally across this map. Our red line track curves north of the development site and runs under the NS line to the rail station. As a benefit and as a result of our project, however, RTA, the city, and the county are now planning public area improvements to enhance pedestrian access, circulation, and safety along Detroit Avenue public right-of-way at several of the intersections. The final purchase area is slightly smaller than the full parcel size due to some boundary modifications to create permanent easement rights across the development parcel for RTA to use when access to the rail line is required. Transaction contemplates the sale of most of RTA's 1.37 acre parcel just west of the rail station for a sale price of $150,000. The sale price was verified as fair market value, utilizing our normal appraisal and review appraisal process. We anticipate the project will result in increased transit ridership, as the developer will be purchasing a monthly transit pass for each of the planned 62 units, as documented by a transit fare agreement with RTA. This is an operating cost of the project, with the transit pass included in the base rent for each tenant. For this property sale, normal and customary transaction costs will be shared by the buyer and seller. And as I mentioned previously, RTA will retain permanent easement rights across the property when access to the rail line is required. In a separate transaction, the developer is required to purchase the existing air rights that encumber the property directly from the City of Cleveland. For those unfamiliar with this requirement, a quick bit of history. When RTA was formed in 1975, most of the property and buildings acquired were transferred to RTA from the Cleveland Transit System. While RTA now owns the real property, the City of Cleveland retained air rights that regulate the future development on most of the parcels. Flaherty and Collins will purchase the air rights for this parcel directly from the city to advance this project. And while RTA assists the developer with this process, again, the transaction is between the developer and the City of Cleveland, requiring City Council approval. Examples of air rights transactions that we have successfully completed to facilitate TOD include the Horizon Education Center at our Triscuit Station, the Aspen Place Apartments at the West 65th and Lorraine Station, and the sale of the old Brooklyn Bus Garage to a private entity. With the city's continuing support, I do not anticipate any unusual delays concluding this transaction, but it's important to note that we do not have control of that element of the development process. Since federal funds were not used to acquire nor improve this vacant property, no federal interest currently exists. FTA concurrence for this transaction is not required. Staff requests that the Audit, Safety, Compliance, and Real Estate Committee recommend this property sale to Flaherty and Collins Development, LLC, to the full Board of Trustees for approval. And I'll be pleased to respond to any questions you have this morning.
Maybe I'll just jump in for a minute. Not really a question, it's really more a comment. Well done moving these projects and all of the TOD projects that we have on our plate. Great use of excess land and a way to generate additional business, if you will, for the agency. So very pleased to see this come before the committee and eventually to the board. So well done.
Thank you, Mayor Weiss. As a real estate professional, many folks looked at this 2-year delay between the option agreement and this next step. And really, it's reflective of the very challenging environment that developers are facing, trying to secure commercial financing. And if you recall in our original conversation, the reason I was enthusiastically participating with Flaherty and Collins was because of their due diligence and their sort of tenacity to get projects done. So we have a result, and I think it's a positive one.
Any other questions from the board?
No other comments, I'll move approval.
Second Welch.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion goes to full board. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. I'd like to call to order the RTA Committee of the Whole Board. Teresa, roll call, please.
Mayor Kumar.
Here.
Ms. Welch.
Here.
Mayor Biassiata. Ms. Elder.
Here.
Mr. Love.
Here.
Reverend Lucas. Ms. McPherson. Ms. Pachetti. Mr. Sleesman.
Here.
And Mayor Weiss.
Here.
You have 6 committee members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. First item of business is the CAC operating guidelines, and we have Natoya Walker-Minor
Sure.
presenting.
Good morning and Happy New Year. I am Dr. Natoya Walker-Minor, and I am here today to share some proposed revisions to the CAC operating guidelines. I do want to acknowledge we do have one member of the CAC in the room with us. These proposed revisions have been reviewed by the members of the CAC Rules Committee as a part of their process for a one-year review.
Natoya, prior to your start as well, just wanted to bring to the board's attention, I know that we have trustee McPherson who's under the weather today, but she's also been advised, so just wanted to mention that as well.
Thank you. So of the proposed revisions, one of them includes the secretary responsibilities. In the operating guidelines, the chair and the vice chair responsibilities are defined. However, the secretary responsibilities needed to be further refined to include calling the roll and taking the minutes at each of the meetings. For the officers, the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary may serve in the same position for 4 consecutive one-year terms. We reduced that from 6 years. In the event of a vacancy, we wanted to include the language that replacement will be elected at the next regular meeting. In addition, each standing subcommittee will elect a chair. For the meeting minutes, we wanted to write into the operating guidelines that the staff liaison, which is an RTA employee, is responsible for maintaining the meeting minutes. For the quorum, we wanted to clarify language. The clarification is that a quorum would be from at least 50% plus 1 to a majority of the appointed members for both CAC and the subcommittee meetings. Under meeting notices, we wanted to include that the notice of regular meetings for each calendar year shall be posted not later than 2 days prior to the first regular meeting of the calendar year. In addition, we wanted to include language that the notice of special meetings shall be posted no later than 24 hours before the time of the special meeting. As it relates to the agendas will be posted on the CAC page of the GCRTA website and in the front lobby of the main office building. The CAC meetings are open meetings. And they're open to the public. However, public comment is not permitted. The public and any outside entities may interact with the CAC by telephone and also by the web form. For special meetings may be called 5 days before the proposed meeting date. We revised that from 48 hours. The CAC has a Rules Committee, and annually, as a part of their process, the Rules Committee reviews the guidelines and may make proposed amendments to the CAC. If there is a need for an amendment to arise at a time other than the annual review, the Rules Subcommittee may meet to consider it. At this time, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the board? Yeah.
I didn't hear you, Chair.
Pardon me?
Oh, I thought you said something.
No. Based on that, I'd like to make a motion that we move this forward to the full board. Is there a second?
Thank you very much.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, I'd like to make a motion. There's an executive session requested, and the motion would be to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, compensation of a public employee or official. Roll call, please, Teresa.
Mayor Kumar,
Yes.
Ms. Welch,
Here.
Ms. Elder,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Mr. Sleesman,
Yes.
and Mayor Weiss.
Yes.
You have 6 ayes and none opposed.
Great, thank you so much. The board will go in the back when we come. But you're welcome to stay and watch me gavel the meeting to an end if you'd like to. I think I just need the board members.
Just a second. All right. Yep, I'm ready. Thanks.
Okay, we are back. I would like to make a motion to adjourn the executive session. Is there a second?
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mayor Kumar,
Yes.
Ms. Welch,
Yes.
Ms. Elder,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Mr. Sleesman,
Yes.
and Mayor Weiss.
Yes.
All right, you have 6 ayes, you have none opposed.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second, Welch. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.